Muy buenos días y bienvenidos al Sugar City Morning Show para hoy, 19 de julio 2017. Buenos días, compañeros. Un gran gusto saludarles por la mañana. Good morning. Welcome to today's edition of the Sugar City Morning Show. It's indeed a pleasure to bid you good morning and to send you greetings all the way wherever you may be. We're transmitting live from Orange Walk, to be exact, in Trial Farm, right smack on San Lorenzo Road, the division between Orange Walk Town and Trial Farm. And our signal is viewed throughout the length and breadth of this beautiful country of ours. We have arrangements with cable providers that permits us to be watched all the way down in Toledo. Mango Creek, good morning. Independence, Dangriga, Belmopan, San Ignacio, Benque Viejo, Belize City, Orange Walk, all the area within Orange Walk, Corozal, San Pedro. Good morning. It's indeed a pleasure to bid you good morning. Today, like I said, is the 19th of July, and it's exactly 4 minutes after 7 o'clock. A beautiful day here in Orange Walk, and because of it's a beautiful day, and because of so many other reasons, so many to enumerate, we want to give thanks to the good Lord, because He has given us life so that we can appreciate all the beautiful things that He has given us. Padre, te doy las gracias por todo lo que haces por nosotros. Nos das la vida, nos das salud, nos das fuerzas para venir a chambear. Padre, gracias por esa capacidad, ese regalo que nos das. Gracias por todo lo que haces por nosotros, y lo haces porque tienes este gran, inmenso amor por nosotros. Nos perdonas si así lo queremos, nos proteges, nos cuidas. Padre, muchas gracias por ese amor. Tu amor nunca va a parar para con nosotros, pero aún así, Padre, te pido que nos sigas bendiciendo. Padre, también te pido por los ancianos, por los enfermos que están en los hospitales, por aquellos en las cárceles, por aquellos en las calles o en sus casas sufriendo. Todas aquellas personas que están pasando por tiempos difíciles, que recién han perdido un ser querido, que están doliendo de una forma u otra. Cuídalos, Padre, confórtalos. Por todos nosotros, que tengamos la fortaleza para seguir adelante un día más, Padre, y que podamos hacer las cosas bien, y que dejemos de ser tan egoístas como siempre lo somos. Padre, te bendecimos, te glorificamos, te adoramos siempre. Amen. This is the general weather forecast for today, the Wednesday, July 19th. Good morning. If you've just joined us, it's exactly 7 minutes after 7 o'clock. The general situation, relatively moist and warm conditions prevail. So it's going to be hot and it's going to be raining. The 24-hour forecast, cloudy spells today and tonight. A few showers and isolated thunderstorms will develop mainly over the south coast and some northern inland areas this morning. So if I read well, it's very probable that we're going to get some rain this morning. He says, and then decreasing this afternoon. Showers will return over the south and coast tonight. The winds blowing from the east at 10 to 20 knots. The sea stayed choppy. There are no advisors in place. I'd like to quickly pass on to the National Hurricane Center and look at the Atlantic 5-day graphical forecast, tropical outlook, And you know something? There's nothing. Well, there's one little wave that is heading up the Atlantic, which poses absolutely no threat. The little disturbance that was going into the Leeward Islands or Windward Islands, whichever they may be, has pretty much dissipated and is not on the screen any longer, so which means that we're all right. for the next 5 days. Okay? Just reminding you that as soon as we begin the month of August and September, that this activity is going to be increasing. Okay? The temperatures along the coast for today, a max of 88 and a low of 81. Inland, a max of 92 and a low of 74. And in the hills, a max of 80 degrees and a low of 68 degrees. And a few showers and isolated thunderstorms will affect the south Thursday morning, which is tomorrow morning, then becoming isolated. Showers and thunderstorms will redevelop Thursday night over the south and central areas. The tides. There was a high tide today at 5:42 this morning. A low tide follows at 7 minutes after 1 this afternoon, followed by another high tide at 7:29 this evening, followed by another low tide tomorrow at 16 minutes after midnight. The sun sets today at 6:30 p.m., exactly 6:30, and the sun rises tomorrow morning at 28 minutes after 5. The moon sets today at 2:51 this afternoon, and the moon rises at 2:36 tomorrow morning. We want to thank Francisca Wellington for this information, and also those are the persons working at the Met Service. I noticed that the web page was updated at 5:31, which is way before most of us have gotten up. And not me, most of us have gotten up. And we need to give them thanks for the work that they're doing. Muy buenos días de nuevo. Si nos acabas de sintonizar, un gran gusto saludarte donde sea que te encuentres, lo que estés haciendo. Te envío los mejores saludos hoy. Hoy es un día más, un día precioso aquí en Orange Walk. Y la situación general, condiciones relativamente húmedas y calurosas persisten sobre el país de Belice. Para las siguientes 24 horas tendremos unos periodos de nubosidad. Hoy durante el día y por la noche. ¿Okay? Tendremos algunos chubascos o tormentas aisladas desarrollándose sobre la porción sur del país, sobre la costa y también sobre algunas áreas en el norte y del interior. Me parece que eso está refiriéndose a Orange Walk. Es muy posible, aún probable, que tengamos un chubasquito hoy durante la mañana. Estos van a estar disminuyendo por la tarde. Los chubascos van a reaparecer de nuevo sobre el sur y sobre la costa hoy por la noche. Hablando de esto, sí, no sé si lograron ver el domingo por la mañana. Hubo una gran migración de mariposas blancas y amarillas. Pues siquiera, esto sucedió por la mañana, como las 10 de la mañana, y puede ser que sucedió desde mucho antes, pero hasta ayer sí continuó viendo esto, y lo menciono porque ayer lo debí de mencionar, pero fueron miles y quizás millones de mariposas saliendo del área por donde vivo yo, viniendo del Saler del Monte, obviamente, y migrando hacia el sur. Fue un fenómeno que escasamente unos toca ver, pero fue algo que jamás nunca había visto, tantas mariposas migrando. Compañeros, buenos días. Hoy, los vientos de 10 a 20 nudos, el estado del mar agitado. No tenemos ninguna advertencia en lugar, no hay ningún mal tiempo en lugar. El mal tiempo que estaba desarrollándose en el Caribe, pues ya no existe, ya se disipó. Y por el momento no hay ningún otro sistema que hay que reportar, porque en realidad las condiciones no son favorables al momento. Podría cambiar al momento para el desarrollo de estas tormentas. Tan pronto salen del Atlántico y entran al Caribe, hay mucho viento que no es propicio para el desarrollo de las tormentas. Bueno, esto suele suceder, pero eso cambia. eso cambia. Las temperaturas por la costa, una máxima de 88, una mínima de 81 Fahrenheit. En el interior del país, una máxima de 92 y una mínima de 74 Fahrenheit. Y por las colinas, compañeros, una máxima de 80 y una mínima de 68 grados. Se espera que para mañana veamos unos chubascos o tormentas aisladas sobre el sur del país por la mañana. Entonces, estos estarán tornándose aislados. Chubascos, tormentas aisladas van a redesarrollar sobre el sur del país y sobre las áreas del centro del país. Así que esa área podría haber mucha lluvia. Las condiciones de mareas, vamos a ver, hubo una marea alta a las 5:42 esta mañana. Habrá una marea baja a las 1:07 hoy por la tarde. Luego habrá otra marea alta a las 7:29 por la noche, y otra marea baja a las medianoche más 16 minutos. El sol se oculta hoy, compañeros, a las 6:30 y el sol sale mañana a las 5:28. La luna se oculta a las 2:51 hoy por la tarde y luego sale a las 2:36 por la madrugada mañana. Y le damos las gracias a Francisca Wellington por esta información, compañeros. Y también le tenemos que agradecer a nuestros patrocinadores. Como siempre, fielmente, el señor Honorable Gaspar Vega, el señor Eduardo Vega, el señor German Vega, el señor Derek Gillett, los señores dueños de A&Rs, los señores dueños de Rapidito Loans, Aqualife Water, la Immaculada Credit Union, Belize Tourist Board, Government of Belize Information Service, y otras personas. Quizás se me ha pasado alguno, mis disculpas, pero con eso, compañeros, si estás celebrando tus cumpleaños hoy, que lo pases de maravilla. Si estás celebrando aniversario, también que lo pases de maravilla. Nuestros mejores deseos a todos, en fin, para que tengan un día fructífero, exitoso. Hoy es un día más, compañeros, una oportunidad más para corregir los errores de ayer y para empezar a hacer las cosas bien, o continuar haciendo las cosas bien, o empezar a hacer las cosas mejor. Bueno, con eso les digo, vamos a unos anuncios. Hoy tenemos invitados del Banquitas House of Culture, del Museo de Belice, de distintos departamentos de National Institute of Culture and History. Vamos a tener un programa excelente hoy. Les invito a mantenerse sintonizados porque la información que les va a venir a ustedes es súper importante. Además, es una invitación a ser parte de algo. Si tienes no voy a empezar a contar porque de repente ya no puedo terminar. Vamos a esta pausa, compañeros, cuando son las 7:17 y estaremos de vuelta tan pronto estos anuncios. Vamos a esa pausa.
The first two phases of the Hummingbird Highway Rehabilitation Project from the Belmont Roundabout Junction to Saboon Bridge and Alta Vista Bridge to Dangriga Town has already made a remarkable difference for commuters and residents alike. These first two phases are a $16.5 million investment by the government of Belize. Under this project, the highway is being rehabilitated through improvement of the road pavement to create a safer environment for the public. Improvements, especially in the areas that pose a high risk to motorists, include the introduction of paved road shoulders, high visibility line markings, reflective road studs, bus laybys, and other features that will bring the entire road segment in line with internationally recognized standards. Additionally, the replacement of the existing single-lane bridges will reduce road user risks. These improvements will increase economic, tourism, and agricultural opportunities, further encouraging the social development of Belize, particularly in the South. The government of Belize, moving Belize forward.
Man, this 4GLTE really got me confused. Can you figure out how to buy my data?
Yeah, I know, right? I might need to work as fast as I may expect it.
And listen, guys,
nothing complicated about Digicel 4G LTE. In fact, Digicel just made it easier to buy data. All you need to do is send a text message to 400. And in the body of the text, type the amount of data you like to buy. That's all. And you put it to your phone. You can never get 4G LTE for this 2G bucket. You also need to have an APN. My go down to a BTL office and get yourself a Digicel 4G LTE capable device. And until then, you will feel the rush.
Dan moet het spelen daarbij.
Tienes 8 cilindros, eres adrenalina disfrazada de aleación de aluminio a 8000 revoluciones por minuto.
Así como así. ¿Será el cigüeñal?
Una limpieza de inyectores, un cambio de aceite, vas a correr con libertad, campeón.
Los que entendemos al motor como si tuviera voz, hablamos máquina. Rushras, poniendo el mundo a funcionar.
Ahora distribuido por German Vega & Sons. Búsquelo en tu tienda favorita.
There's no need to go across the border to enjoy sun, sand, and crystal blue waters. Belize's northern islands and reef are just a boat ride away. Go slow and immerse yourself into the Caribbean Sea or enjoy some fresh coconut water. Or pick up the pace on an island where locals can enjoy sandy beaches by day and feast on your fresh catch by night. Discover the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef and submerge yourself into another world where you can experience a tropic jam you will want to return. You can also make new friends along the way. Belize, where you can discover how to be a Belizean traveler.
Everybody wants a clean and healthy family. That's why they purchase the best food products and the cleansing materials. This time, we give you a bigger size of La Costeña products like the mouth-watering fried beans and pasta sauce. And surely for your clean laundry, we have the breathtaking aroma of Ensueño Max Suavitel. Even your visitors will ask what you clean your floors and restrooms with. And you can boast it is the variety of Pinol products and Sultan muriatic acid now in 900 milliliters. And much more for the best prices only at German Vega & Sons Imports. We serve you at number 5 San Antonio Road, Orange Walk Down. You can even call us at 322-3625 or 322-2672. Or you can even send us a fax at 322-2571 or email us at germanvega@btl.net. German Vega & Sons Limited, because we care for you. The sunny days are here, and whether it's for a picnic or in your kitchen, you need the meat. Gillette's Meat Shop proudly offers a variety of juicy cuts such as processed meats, ham, bacon, salami, longaniza, and sugar-cured ham, just to mention a few. Enjoy our meats in beef, pork, and mutton. So for that healthy cut your family enjoys, visit us at number 18 San Antonio Road in Orange Walk from Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. and 1:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. Saturdays, 7 a.m. to 12:30 and 3 to 5 p.m. Sundays, 8 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Place your orders at 322-3486 or 322-2175 or even 610-4061. Send us an email at DerekGillett31@gmail.com. Gillette's Meat Shop, fresh and processed meats.
Ay, qué rico.
And welcome back to the Sugar City Morning Show. Un gran gusto saludarles de nuevo, compañeros. Bienvenidos. It's exactly 7:23. We have full house today. We are beginning this segment with two very, very important persons. Immediately to my left, I have Mr. Alexis Salazar, who is the director of Museums of Belize, Museum of Belize, and Houses of Culture. Good morning and welcome, Mr. Alexis.
Good morning, Excellency.
Then, no stranger to this studio is Miss Cindy Rivero, who is the coordinator at the Banquitas House of Culture. Cindy, morning, and
Mr.
welcome
Medina.
back again.
Thank you.
Well, welcome back. On a personal note, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. I got up a little bit earlier than expected.
than normal, right?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
It's fine. Yeah.
Okay, good. I gathered that you come bearing good news.
Yes, very, very good news.
Good news, and we all like good news, you know. So, without much ado, I'll ask you to, as director of Museum of Belize, and also the Houses of Culture, which means that he's the director for the Banquitas, the Corozal, the Stan Creek, all the Houses of Culture. For us to have the director here means that there's something afoot, ladies and gentlemen, and there has to be something good.
Yeah.
Talk to me, Alexis. What's going on?
Well, what we're doing is an event on Saturday. It's in collaboration with our sister department, Institute of Social and Cultural Research, and also the Belize National Library Service. What we're doing is we're currently in the process of renovating the museum at Banquitas.
Hallelujah.
If you have been there, you've noticed that we've already started working on the physical aspects of the building. We put in a new door, we've sealed up the building and put in...
It's air conditioned now.
Already,
right.
Yes. So I think Cindy and Chartel have benefited a little bit from that. But the main reason why we're doing it is because we want to update the museum display that is in there, and hopefully by doing that we will be able to tell the story of Orange Walk Tongue and the wider area of Orange Walk. So we have a number of activities that will lead up to the grand reopening or relaunching of the Banquitas Museum for hopefully their anniversary.
And when is that?
That's the 19th of September.
That is, so we're talking here that within the next July, August, the next
Like
2 months. So pretty much all the work will be done by then.
Yes, hopefully it's a huge task for the staff at the museum and the staff at Banquitas, but we've been doing the groundwork. We've come up with a plan, a timeline of the different activities we need to do. We've done 2 prior consultations in Orange Walk, and we're doing one this Saturday at Banquitas, which will aid us in the development of the storyline for the museum that we have there.
Okay. Now, just a quick question here. When you refer to the Banquitas House of Culture and the renovation of it, is it only the main building that you see at the top, or does it is the jurisdiction over the entire area, even where there is the space, the gazebo, and also the space at the bottom?
Okay, there are a number of things that we're doing physically to the building. There's a restaurant down there, and we hopefully hope to start renovation on that and have that as a functioning diner soon. So that's one. We've done some investments last year on the grounds for the Tacos Festival, to flatten the ground on the air. That was a huge investment. They've upgraded also the grills on the outside, the walkway along the river. There's a few more things that we want to upgrade the conference room, hopefully next year. And now our main focus is the museum.
Landscaping.
Yeah.
Is that included?
Yes,
We've
yes.
done the landscaping. Yes.
Okay.
So we're working on that. It's a gradual process, but we're getting there.
Okay. Well, that's good news for everybody, because sometimes, I don't want to be throwing a monkey wrench into everything, but sometimes, we see it overgrown in the areas, all the way to the back by where the river is. And to think that it can be otherwise, and that it can be a very beautiful walkway, which makes for a very pleasant walk along the riverside, you know, and to think also that you have to be brushing away flies and what you call it. It's not anybody's particular fault. It's just, I mean, in this rainy weather, it grows. Tell me about it, you know. Have to be cutting the grass ever so often.
Well, our hope is to eventually have all or the events that Banquitas does there at the area that is amphitheater. So that has to do again with the general upkeep of it. Banquitas is one of our older houses of culture, being 15, going on 15. So it's one of the older ones, so it needs that renovation. It's time for it.
So it's going to be 15 years.
It's going to be 15 this year.
So we're looking forward to a big bash, in other words. Sort of. Okay. You mentioned, Mr. Salazar, that there's going to be an event this Saturday. Would you care to mention, or would you like to leave that for the other people?
No, I could mention it because there's two things that will come out of it. ISCR will use it for one reason, and the Museum of...
And ISCR is the Institute for Social and Cultural Research, which is a part of NICH.
NICH, yes. So it's our sister department. They deal solely with research. The Museum and House of Culture is more a dynamic aspect where we are the ones that get involved with the community.
That's a showcase theater. Okay, all right.
There and so on, and they do the summer program here at Banquitas. So the event, though, is for what it's worth, and essentially what we want is we're inviting everybody from the Orange Walk area, all Orange Walkenians, to come and share their history or tell a story. They can bring old photos. We will be able to have the capacity to record their oral history, so they can tell a story of the oldest building in Orange Walk, which I believe is still standing. So stuff like that, where it hasn't necessarily been recorded, and we want them to come out. If you have old photographs, we'll digitize it for you, so you can have a soft copy of your old photographs in case they...
I have something. This is just going to be an example, actually.
Okay.
This is an invitation to anybody who has anything, like say, your old grandpa will, or the picture of your great-great-grand-aunt, who from 1875. Take those along
tell
with
us
you.
the story along with it.
And be able to tell the story along with it. I have a copy of my great-great-grandfather's will, and this is dated. In parts of it, it's 1899, second codicil 1901. Okay. I'm very glad and proud that the fact that I have this, because it's, you know, it's a wealth of information that I get out of here. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and it's information that we may not necessarily know about, and it will help us in certain aspects to develop a storyline for the museum at Banquitas. So essentially what we're doing, I'm from outside of Orange Walk, Sydney is from Orange Walk, but I don't want it to seem as if somebody from outside of Orange Walk is coming to Orange Walk to tell the people of Orange Walk what their history is. We want it to come from the community upward. So we're hoping that they come out, and we'll have people from the National Library Service, ISCR will be recording oral histories. Also, the Belize Archives and Records will be there to work. They could probably help you in the preservation of that paper document. So essentially what we are going to use it, the museum is going to use it for, is for the development of what the story of Orange Walk is, and to put it in the museum. ISCR, I don't want to say what they'll be doing, but they'll be using it for a publication, which is a walk through Orange Walk. But they're coming in the next segment, so I'm going to leave that to them.
Right. Well, I've spoken really at length about this because I'm very fond of history, so knows that. And I was looking forward to all of this. And compañeros, I think, you know, I'm going to be doing a bit of Spanish right now. esta es una invitación para todas las personas que quieran unirse en el esfuerzo con Banquitas House of Culture y con el Museo de Belice. Esto es una invitación a todos ustedes. Si es que tienen alguna foto, algún retrato, como decían antes, algún libro, algún cuento de Orange Walk en el pasado, alguna foto vieja de tu tatarabuelo, o algo que nos podría ayudar en compilar información acerca de Orange Walk y que sirva obviamente para como parte de una exhibición en el Banquitas House of Culture, posiblemente, ¿ok? Pero a este punto están compilando información acerca de Orange Walk. Eso es lo que se está haciendo. Ya sabes de que en lo que el cuento de la historia de Orange Walk, pues escasamente tenemos información. Escasamente tuvo que escribir así un señor Alejo Ayuso y luego tuvo que venir un gringo. Gracias por hacerlo, sus esfuerzos que hizo, pero ahora el esfuerzo es para que sea algo que viene de la gente, con su información de ustedes, con su participación de ustedes. Así que esto es una invitación a todos. Si tienes algo que tú piensas que debe de incluirse en lo que es la historia de Orange Walk, y quizás no lo pienses inicialmente, pero si tienes algo, compártelo, y aunque no se incluya en el libro, pero eso va a ser tu participación, eso es parte de la exhibición, eso es tu contribución, y no es por decir que tú lo regales, no, al contrario, van a tener equipo ahí para escanearlo, como dices, ¿no? Y para también hacer copia de ello y se te devuelve el original. No es como si ellos estuvieran quedándose con ellos, ¿ok? Así que esto va a suceder ¿cuándo?
El sábado de las 9 a las 12 y de la 1 a las 3.
Okay.
Todo el día mis compañeros van a estar acá y vamos a estar trabajando. Queremos que las personas vengan y salgan y traigan.
Excelente, excelente. Perdón que no te había preguntado acerca de esto, pero Cindy, ¿cómo les fue el Summer Workshop que tuvieron?
Los fue muy bien. Estoy muy agradecida con las personas que participaron. Teníamos los facilitadores, sí, ellos dieron lo mejor de lo que ellos pudieran dar a nuestro público. Entonces fue algo que va a motivar a diferentes personas que participen en los otros programas que estamos teniendo en la Casa de Cultura.
De lo que recuerdo.
Sí.
Bien. ¿Tuviste drumming
con Josh?
Josh me imagino que estará ya de vuelta en Dangria.
Sí.
Josh, I send you my best regards. I had a fun time with Josh doing this Tigari from the drumming because I was there 2 days.
It was very interactive with the children, so the children had a lot of questions.
It would seem to me as if he had done that before. He told me, I don't do this yet in my life.
But it was very good. I mean, the kids grasped it a lot.
And you also had Raquelin.
We had Raquelin.
Stimulation.
Early childhood stimulation, yes. We had persons that came in like the second day, and by the third day they really enjoyed it because then we created objects that will help or include, as she had mentioned before, people with different disabilities. So they did different activities that in the way how they learn to involve these children or these persons into our lives, because most of the time we tend to exclude them because of certain conditions, but we fail to realize that they also are persons that could easily understand, that could easily be involved, even if they don't speak or they can't see, but there are ways of how we could involve them.
And even Down syndrome. I like the approach that Raquelin, because I have a brother who is Down syndrome, and he says, no, they're not sick. It's just a
condition that is different than ours.
The condition is different than ours. He says, and I'm sure that he can do certain things better than you.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I mean? And that was a different way of looking at things.
Yes.
Because we look at them and go, él no puede. But we are the ones who are saying que él no puede. Because maybe he can.
Yes.
Just that you haven't tried it.
That was one of the main things that she focused on. And I must say that even she assisted the parents that have children with these conditions as to how to handle different situations with them, how to grasp their attention, how to speak to them, on what way to speak to them as well. So it was a very informative and productive workshop.
So this week you don't have any workshops?
Yes, we have. We started with the Latin extravaganza with Emmanuel, so that is still continuing this week. But the following week, we're going to be having the Maya language and the folklore dance with the instructors from the Universidad Intercultural de Quintana Roo. Yes.
Aquí, compañeros, si es que te interesa, ya luego, no digas que no hay donde ir a aprender maya, porque esto es una oportunidad única que se está presentando. Así que toma oportunidad de ello, ¿ok? Porque ya deja de quejarte, hablando la neta, que no hay donde ir a aprender maya. Ahora Banquitas House of Culture te lo está ofreciendo.
Y el año pasado tuvimos niños pequeños también. Entonces estamos invitando niños, adultos, que vengan y participen, no importa dónde estés. Y lo mejor es que es gratis.
Absolutamente gratis, perdón.
Sí. Tuvimos un cambio en el horario. El Maya Language va a ser de las 9 a las 11:30 y el dance sigue igual de la 1:30 a las 4:30.
Ahora, la danza va a ser baile folclórico de
baile
México.
Folclórico de México.
De México, así que es bastante similar
a lo que nosotros
vivimos.
Acá, sí.
Porque yo veo bastante similitud entre el baile que se hace en Yucatán con el baile que se hace aquí, nada más que aquí, pues no sé si no lo tenemos tan bien desarrollado, o porque si quizás estemos apenados de bailar y ponerle gusto al bendito baile, pero hay que ponerle gusto a esta cosa. Y yo creo que...
Y los maestros que vienen, es eso que inculcan de nosotros, tu postura, cómo te presentas, cómo mueves tu vestuario, todo eso es lo que los maestros vienen a enseñar.
Yo creo que todo eso no acepta una cosa, que eso es orgullo de ser representativo.
Sí.
Porque si eres orgullosamente mestiza, pues vas a bailarlo con gusto, representando tu cultura. ¿Ok? Y muchas veces yo creo que eso es lo que nos hace falta, un poquito de ese orgullo de ser, de representar quienes somos.
Pues es un proceso y entonces con esos programas, eso es nuestra meta con nuestros grupos que están acá.
Así, ante todo yo les felicito.
Gracias.
Por los esfuerzos que están haciendo, los programas que están haciendo. Alexis nos vino con la buena nueva de que se va a renovar el Banquitas House, no solo físicamente el edificio, sino también lo de por dentro, lo que contiene el museo. Y este sábado se está haciendo un esfuerzo para empezar a recopilar información de ustedes, así que de nuevo se les pide, si es que tienen una información que ustedes piensan que debe estar incluido en lo que es la historia de Orange Rock, les invito a que visiten Banquitas House of Culture este sábado de 9 a 11:30, de 1:30 a las 4. ¿Lo dije bien?
A las 3.
Sí,
a las 3. Ok.
Para
ya a las 4, pues.
para
te va a atender.
Para añadir a lo que dijo Mr. Alexis, queremos que el espacio sea que te puedas conectar cuando tú entres inmediatamente como orinchaqueño o como una persona que viene de afuera. Cuando tú entras, tú puedas vivir lo que era Orange Rock antes. Entonces tenemos esa conexión con nuestra comunidad y es muy importante lo que dijo, que queremos que la gente, ellos son los que tienen el material, ellos tienen la historia, ellos se acuerdan. Entonces ustedes son los que lo tienen y eso es lo que nosotros queremos recibir este sábado, o lo que sea que tengan que los puedan ayudar. Tal vez se use en el museo, y si no se usa, siempre va a estar allá para cuando nosotros queramos información, esté en la Casa de Cultura.
Está archivado.
Sí, entonces, y eso nos va a ayudar bastante porque la exhibición es para educar a los estudiantes también, para que ellos mismos puedan aprender la historia de Orange Walk y las diferentes lugares a donde pasa algo importante. Entonces, para educar es importante y para tener esa relación con nuestros visitantes también.
Qué ironía que si preguntas a los niños hoy en día que te cuenten acerca de la historia de los Estados Unidos, fácilmente te pueden hablar acerca de Paul Revere y de eso, pero pregúntales acerca de la historia de Belice, de Orange Walk, y escasamente te pueden decir nada.
No. También vamos a tener, para que animamos a las personas que vengan, vamos a tener unos raffles allá, son las personas que pueden, pueden pasar y estar con nosotros y ayudarlos. Como dijo Mr. Alexis, vamos a tener nuestros compañeros allá trabajando, entonces ayúdanos a nosotros para que te ayudemos a ti también, porque tus recuerdos, tus fotos y esto tú lo puedes tener en una manera donde lo puedas manejar más fácilmente.
Bueno, con eso les doy las gracias por estar aquí. Ha sido un gran gusto tenerles aquí. El director me está indicando que tenemos que ir a una pausa. Pues, tenemos media hora en el segmento. Así que un gran gusto tenerte aquí, Alexis, Cindy.
Gracias.
Un gran gusto tenerte aquí. Very, very glad to have you here. And we hope to be able to have you here sometime in the near future.
Of course. For the relaunching of our anniversary.
Cindy. Sí, compañeros, no se vayan. Estaremos de vuelta tan pronto estos anuncios. Don't go away.
They see you know you're really famous, always a star, yes. You live in color to the limit, large and in charge, yes. That's why you rock with Buster, refreshing range of colorful flavors. Always a star, never the audience. You run things never run yours. Yes, you are the life of it, not just a part of it. Your life is never black and white, live in full color. Buster. Let's get ready to rumble!
Y'all ready for this?
Get serious. Get bopped.
Hello, friends. The only place you'll get value for your money is at Rapidito Loans. At Rapidito Loans, you can shop for jewelry, buy, carat, stoner style. A genuine jewelry from us makes the perfect gift for that special someone or a treat for you. Come and check our widest assortments of quality and affordable gold jewelry. And for all those last-minute urgent needs and unexpected bills, you don't have to worry no more. Rapidito Loans is the only quick and reliable solution for all those emergency needs. We provide more and better loans for your gold jewelry. So remember, friends, great discount on all gold jewelry. So come in and visit us at Orange Walk Town, number 4 Belize Corozal Road. Rapidito Loans, your number 1 money lending and jewelry center.
The Philip Walton Highway between Belize City and the Philip Walton International Airport is getting a major facelift to the tune of $31.5 million. Section A of the highway upgrading project between Haulover Bridge and PGIA is nearing completion at an investment of $13.6 million. Works include construction of retaining walls to prevent erosion, widening of the road cross-section to include paved road shoulders, pavement restoration and resurfacing. The project also includes the installation of LED road lighting and safety features such as signs, reflectors, road marking, and improved visibility through the clearing of the road reserve. The government of Belize, moving Belize forward.
And welcome back to the Sugar City Morning Show. Like I said a while ago, we got full house today. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure when we have such distinguished guests with us. Previously, we had the director of museum and houses of culture, Mr. Alexis Salazar, and also we had the coordinator of the Banquitas House of Culture, Ms. Cindy Rivero. And now we have, immediately to my left, Ms. Nuria Vasquez. Nuria, you work at ISCR, which is the Institute of Social and Cultural Research, am I right?
Yes, I'm an intern at ISCR.
You're an intern at ISCR. And then my very good friend, Giovanni Pinella, who is a researcher at ISCR. Just quickly, I met Giovanni when I went to ISCR looking for information about my grandparents. Do you remember that day?
That's right.
Welcome. Good morning, Giovanni, and welcome to the show.
Thank you,
How
Mr.
are you
Martinez.
guys?
Doing well. Television audience, thank you for welcoming us into your homes. People of Orange Walk. We feel very much at home, knowing that we're among friends.
Well, that for sure you can say that again. Giovanni, this is not your first trip to Orange Walk. You have been coming to Orange Walk lately quite often, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously this is in all part of what, no, you're not calling it tacos just like that, and but it's part of work.
That is right.
You are doing field work, I gather, and you eventually would like to say one day, this is the product of what the field work that I've been doing here in Orange Walk. You have obviously something that you'd like to produce, but also you're having a big event this Saturday. Obviously, that's part of the work that you're doing. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. At the Institute for Social and Cultural Research, the sister branch to the Museum of Belize and Houses of Culture, also to another sister branch being the Institute of Archaeology. And
these are all branches under
These
niche.
are all branches under niche, and including the Institute for Creative Arts. We are the research branch, and lately we are collaborating with the Museum of Belize and Houses of Culture. One of there are several things that we do that requires quite a bit of field work. I want to just show one brochure, and hopefully we will have these brochures made available to the whole community. Some years ago, Banquitas hosted us along with cultural practitioners from all over the country, and they decided that the cultural celebrations of Belize were very important to be recorded for posterity, for future generations. So Banquitas, the coordinator there at the time, Ms. Yvette Torres and Cindy and everybody who was there welcomed cultural practitioners from all over the country. So that was one of the things we have collaborated with. And so we have some brochures, and we have, of course, 3 video clips that have been coming out of that meeting of cultural practitioners throughout the country, and ISCR taking the lead in that, and of course disseminating that information through our various branches. Another of the projects that we engage in is a series that we call a walkthrough. And so we started off some years ago with a walkthrough Old Belize, looking at Belize City, what it was like, highlighting the oral history and doing the archival research to complement it with Mr. Lawrence Vernon was one of the persons who collaborated a lot with us. In Cayo, we did a walk through El Cayo. Mr. Hector Silva, Hernando Chaeta, Alfonso Sul. There were so many people from the community who they have a wealth of knowledge, and so they brought that on. In Dangriga, Mayor Francis Humphreys now. At that time, he assisted, again, doing a lot of the work, interviews, and so on. And so we produced a walk through Dangriga. And last May, we launched a walk through Benqueviejo, again highlighting what the town used to be.
That's your hometown.
And yeah, that is true. But a little before the workshop, we were aware of a number of individuals who had expressed interest, and we knew you are one of those persons who are willing to share what you know about Orange Walk. And so yes, we do have a listing. And this Saturday, we're collaborating with the Museum of Belize, Banquitas House of Culture. And so the invitation is extended now for persons who wish to come in and share their story.
I was referring in particular to some of those people who are 80, 90 years old, maybe even who are still very lucid.
Yes, yes.
Very lucid. They could tell you what part of the last put they leave 5 seconds. You know?
Yeah.
Está bajo el mantel, no es el otro. You know what I mean? And they can tell you exactly what part they have it. But
yes, we have
this because not everybody who is 80 or 90
will be able to come to
tell you that.
And yes, and then again, those persons who are not able to come to Banquitas on Saturday, this is where the work that Nuria will be doing plays a critical role.
So you have to actually go to people's homes.
She will be. I guess Nuria, you want to share?
I will be. People who cannot go or come out, I can go to their house in the morning or in the afternoon, anytime they feel comfortable.
Okay. Do you have already a list of some of those people? Not yet.
There is a tentative list. There is a tentative list.
Because if you need help with some of these things, we'd be glad to sit with you and to help.
Oh yes, definitely.
That's the whole point.
We have a tentative list, and we know other individuals have been sharing names of persons. So it is going to be a huge task, but doable, because there is that community spirit that makes Orange Walk a unique place in this sense. So we will have, as we have been discussing now, Nuria will be going to several homes. Myself and a few other colleagues will be coming to Orange Walk Town, meeting some of our older friends, and reconnecting. So that's the task. On Saturday, the Museum of Belize, Banquitas House of Culture will host individuals who wish to come and share their story. We're also, I'm sure, I'm repeating this, that if you have old photographs of Orange Walk Town, bring it along. One of the other entities that will be collaborating is the National Heritage Library of the Belize National Library Information System. Mr. Bradley will be here with us to scan the photographs and ensure that the persons who bring those photographs get it back on that
because
same day.
A lot of people saying, me no one get my photo because I might get it back. And if I loan it to them, that was I
might have a doubt,
I
no?
have a family member who says, no le voy a dar mis fotos porque esto. Le digo, pero no se te lo van a robar, es simplemente para que hagan copia de ello.
Sí, solo es para que tengamos un archivo de lo que es esta documentación histórica, las imágenes, si son fotografías, si son retratos de familias, siempre detrás hay algo de interés, hay algún edificio, hay algún árbol que tenía mucho significado en la comunidad de Orange Walk. Entonces,
los países, ¿será porque no nos conocemos como
nos hemos sentido muy a gustos estar aquí en Orange Walk?
Pues bienvenidos de vuelta aquí a Orange Walk. Compañeros, de nuevo la invitación de parte de ISCR y de parte de esta estación y de parte de todos los aquí de Niche a estar con ellos este sábado. Si es que tienes algún pedazo de información o algún relato que quieras compartir, información importante acerca de la historia de Orange Walk, Eso sería tu contribución.
Correcto, sí.
Porque la historia es nuestra, no es de otra gente viviendo. ¿Se usa ese término en el 20?
En muchas áreas siempre escuchamos eso. Hágame Neville String.
Tengo enterrado mi touch.
Entonces, es un trabajo para nosotros muy agradable poder compartir y conocer más de los pueblos, de los residentes. Y realmente lo que tenemos en Belice es sin par. Es sin par, pero tenemos que trabajar en ello. Y estamos ahí, pues. Entonces, agradecemos nuevamente la invitación y cuando ustedes gusten podemos siempre coordinar, venir y explicar compartir sobre las otras tareas.
Located on San Andres Street in Orange Walk Town. We cordially invite all members owners of Likud to join us as we share our financials, developments, and endeavors, including the declaration of dividends for both the fiscal years 2015-2016 and 2016-2017. As always, your presence and active participation at this very important first ever consolidated session is of essence, for your valuable input and awareness are necessary as we continue moving forward to safeguard your interests and hard-earned investments for the sustainable growth of our credit union. We strongly encourage you to be on time to have the opportunity to win exciting punctuality and attendance prizes. Kindly bring along your passbooks. Snacks and refreshments will be served at the end of the business sessions. Once again, copies of the minutes of our 66th AGM are being made available at both our Orange Walk and Belmopan offices in order to allow you the time to review before the meeting. We thank you for your kind patience in allowing us the time to finalize our processes for this highly anticipated meeting. Looking forward to seeing you there. La Inmaculada Credit Union Limited, your road to financial prosperity.
Need an escape from your daily schedule? Why not become a tourist in your own country? Discover Western Belize. Transport back in time and be awed by the reminiscences of the Mayan civilization. Be adventurous or spend a day with family and friends enjoying the serenity of the Macau River. Sample a Kaya staple or pick up some fresh produce to make your own delicacy. Come visit us in Western Belize. Belize, where you can discover how to be a Belizean traveler.
The first two phases of the Hummingbird Highway Rehabilitation Project from the Belmopan Roundabout Junction to Cebu Bridge and Alta Vista Bridge to Dandriga Town has already made a remarkable difference for commuters and residents alike. These first two phases are a $16.5 million investment by the government of Belize. Under this project, the highway is being rehabilitated through improvement of the road pavement to create a safer environment for the public. Improvements, especially in the areas that pose a high risk to motorists, include the introduction of paved road shoulders, high visibility line markings, reflective road studs, bus laybys, and other features that will bring the entire road segment in line with internationally recognized standards. Additionally, the replacement of the existing single-lane bridges will reduce road user risks. These improvements will increase economic, tourism, and agricultural opportunities, further encouraging the social development of Belize, particularly in the South. The government of Belize, moving Belize forward.
Man, this 4G really got me confused. Can you figure out how to buy my data? Yeah, I know, right? And mine need to work as fast as I may expect it.
Man, listen guys, nothing complicated about Digicel 4G LTE. In fact, Digicel just made it easier to buy data. All you need to do is send a text message to 400. And in the body of the text, type the amount of data you like to buy. That's all. And you, put this to your phone. You can never get 4G LTE from this 2G bucket. You also need to have an APN. Might go down to a BTL office and get yourself a Digicel 4G LTE capable device. And until then, you will feel the rush.
Dan hoe is het bij?
Tienes 8 cilindros. Eres adrenalina disfrazada de aleación de aluminio a 8000 revoluciones por minuto.
Así como así. ¿Será el cigüeñal?
Una limpieza de inyectores, un cambio de aceite, vas a correr con libertad, campeón.
Los que entendemos al motor como si tuviera voz, hablamos máquina. Rorschach, poniendo el mundo a funcionar.
Ahora distribuido por German Vega & Sons. Búsquelo en tu tienda favorita.
There's no need to go across the border to enjoy sun, sand, and crystal blue waters. Belize's northern islands and reef are just a boat ride away. Go slow and immerse yourself into the Caribbean Sea or enjoy some fresh coconut water. Or pick up the pace on an island where locals can enjoy sandy beaches by day and feast on your fresh catch by night. Discover the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef and submerge yourself into another world where you can experience a tropic jam you will want to return. You can also make new friends along the way. Belize, where you can discover how to be a Belizean traveler.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Y'all ready for this?
Get serious. Get Bob.
And welcome back to the Sugar City Morning Show. Bienvenidos de vuelta, compañeros, al Sugar City Morning Show. Tengo la necesidad de hablar tanto en español y en inglés porque reconozco que la gran mayoría de la gente, la audiencia aquí en Orange Walk, pues es de habla hispana. Así que disculpen que esté moviendo de inglés y español, pero eso depende completamente de nuestros invitados, su capacidad de poder hablar español. Si es que hablan español, entonces no hay necesidad de que yo esté traduciendo. Me es un gran honor de tener conmigo esta mañana a dos otras personas. Ante todo, quiero darle la bienvenida, darle los buenos días y darle la bienvenida al Dr. Adrian Coy, que es el director general de Carl Kirchner Memorial Hospital. Did I say it right? The Chief Executive Officer. And also we have Mr. Tylen Tillett, who is the public relations. You've been here before with us.
Yes, I've been here before.
Welcome.
Good morning,
Good morning
sir.
and welcome. How you guys doing?
We're good.
Had you had your fair share of tacos this morning?
Not as yet.
Not as yet, but I trust that you will.
Can't come to Orange Walk and not do that.
Doctor, I just on a personal note here. When I looked at you, I said, for some reason, I think I know you. But it turns out that he has Orange Walk roots. Doctor, you're here because you would like to inform the Orange Walk population about an important event that will be happening on Thursday. Am I right?
Yes, Thursday.
On Thursday and Friday. Thursday at the Northern Regional and Friday at the Corozal Community
Polyclinic.
Polyclinic. Good Lord, where did I get that? Good Corozal Polyclinic. And this is in regard, ladies and gentlemen, to a condition. It's called the Heart Outreach Program. Well, if it's been determined that it is absolutely necessary to do a survey of the people who are suffering with rheumatic fever because the consequences are dire. Doctor, I'm not a doctor, but I'll ask Dr. Adrian Coy to explain that for us and put it in a small change.
Okay. First of all, thank you for having us. And I am to inform, as you saw on the billboard, 2 clinics, one in Orange Walk and one tomorrow in Northern Regional Hospital and in Corozal on Friday. This is the 3rd year we are doing this activity, where we've sampled in the west, in Belize City, and down south. So we are looking to document the incidents and, of course, to increase the awareness for our Belizean population for the condition of rheumatic heart disease. As you may know that I am a heart surgeon, and in the end, I have operated on patients who have the consequences of rheumatic heart disease. This is something that is expensive and has its own risk. The best approach then is to prevent the consequences of this. We want to be able to help to intervene with awareness and education earlier so that patients do not develop the consequences that require surgery. Rheumatic heart disease is a consequence of rheumatic fever. And not every patient or person who gets rheumatic fever in childhood, especially, develops rheumatic heart disease. Okay. What is rheumatic fever then? This is the important first step. Rheumatic fever is a consequence of a streptococcus throat infection. This is This is commonly known to as strep throat, or that's how we would generally say it in the public. And I'm sure many children, we know of many kids, and even when we were growing up, we had sore throat, fever, glandular swelling, and in fact, some patients have other signs at the same time of all of this. They may have joint pains, even a bit of chest pain, etc. And these are all part of what they call the whole spectrum or the whole set of events that ties in with rheumatic fever. The important step in all of this is early recognition of rheumatic fever. Antibiotics that are appropriate to the infection. So it should be that you see a doctor to diagnose the infection. No, don't diagnose it yourself.
Key point.
See the doctor to diagnose the infection. Secondly, antibiotics are there to treat it. But when you get a prescription, don't take it for 2 days and stop. You have to take the full course. And this is immediately the most life-saving activity that you can do. Because rheumatic heart disease is a consequence of rheumatic fever, but it may take many years to show itself. This is why we talk.
So it just becomes latent in the system?
It is latent in the system. Why this happens? Well, if you get inappropriate or not enough antibiotic treatment, or no treatment at all, then the body tries to eradicate the infection. And in trying to eradicate the infection, your own immune response, the own fighting that the body does, may kill the bugs, but also start a reaction that attacks your own tissues. And the tissue that it attacks most commonly is the heart. And in the heart, most commonly it affects a valve. In fact, it can affect, the heart has 4 valves, and in sequence it affects one called the mitral valve, the aortic valve, and then, as I say, it can be 2, 3, 4 of them all affected at the same time.
You mentioned one thing, doctor, and I think that it is very, very important. And it is sometimes, and the tendency of a lot of people to not proceed with the prescribed medication as the doctor prescribed. You say, doctor, give me all the pile of pills, but I don't feel better. So I stopped.
And stop to hit.
How important is that negligence?
Well, I wouldn't call it negligence, but if you're not following the instructions, then there is a consequence. The important thing, the rules are, you take the antibiotics until it is completed as prescribed. What you may have then is the treatment is incomplete, even though you feel better. And we have to understand that this may set you up for the resistance to occur. Resistance pattern will happen if you're taking short courses of antibiotics repeatedly for the same problem and not allowing the full treatment to occur. So you end up possibly in the future with a harder bug to eradicate or a harder infection to eradicate, and may have to use stronger antibiotics.
Does
or
the
even
bug have a
hospital.
capacity to become more resistant?
They have, it's a natural thing. They do have patterns of developing resistance, and so that is why we talk about multi-drug resistant infections as a big thing. And in fact, if we look at the news in the world, they talk about the role of antibiotics becoming so little or less that then there may be in the future, especially for example in patients with STDs, gonorrhea as an example, that they may not have any antibiotic to treat those infections in the future because of thus the resistance pattern of these bugs. So that is, we are going into an era that may result in very little option.
And a number of people also have, as far as I know, and it's not quite often, but you do have some people who I know, and not many, like I said, but who, well, you know that there came about years ago, the wide spectrum antibiotics, the ones that would be, you know, the broad-based ones, the ones that if you have a stroke infection, it will help you. If you have infection as gonorrhea, it will help you. If you have a liver infection, it will help you. You know, and then those are powerful, but then you're asked not to take it for more than so many days, because after a while, then you become resistant. The infection becomes resistant to it.
Resistance develop in different ways, and it can in some ways be transmitted from one person to the next, the ability for resistance to happen. So antibiotics should be treated as if it's that magic bullet. It should not be taken willy-nilly. It should not be anyone can just grab a tablet, and so it has to be respected to what it is. As in most medications, that's why there's something called over-the-counter and those others that are prescribed. You can hurt someone giving them the wrong antibiotic. You can hurt someone who may have an allergy to the antibiotic, not knowing, and just giving them, and they can get a severe allergic reaction.
Some people are highly allergic to penicillin as far as
They can be, yes, and they can die as a result of this. So these are things then that just should not be by the general public accessed in that way.
And if you notice, lately there's been a push since the beginning of this year to regulate some of these antibiotics and the type of drugs that is on the market by the Ministry of Health.
I was going there, but thank you for mentioning.
So authenticity of medications, that having the correct dosage is a push by the Ministry of Health to make sure that the suppliers in the country are bringing in the right stuff, and there are regulations that are being proposed to stem the flow of medications over the counter that might be affecting the public in a negative way, right? That's not our field, but we are at the Calhouchno where we are the catchment agency for all these things that go wrong, so we have to participate in the fight.
Public health also should become involved in this, because you come here to Child Farm and you can ask any one of those store owners, yes, I'm going to say it, that some people, it's a supermarket and they sell you pills.
So these are the things that are they push to regulate this type of thing so that we have a healthier Belizean public.
They sell ibuprofen. Well, nothing wrong with selling ibuprofen, but diclofenac, they sell you all the diarrheal, what you call it, and so forth, so people can auto-medicate themselves.
And even you might have a headache. I'm not a doctor, but you have a headache and it is prescribed for you to take a 400 milligram pill, and you say, oh, this 400 not work, make I take 4. You understand me? All these things have side effects. Yeah, we self-medicate.
You mentioned diclofenac, and it's one of the concerns that a lot of us at the hospital have. And we think that there's an abuse of that type of medication. Even it's not addictive, but just as Mr. Tillett was saying, diclofenac is a specific dosage that you're to take, and someone might not be feeling better, and so they take 2 or 3 in a shorter period of time, and what ends up happening is that either they get a massive bleeding ulcer, or they may get even renal injury. And so renal failure can be a consequence of over medication. In fact, I met a patient recently who said he would send and buy for, well, it sounds like 600 milligrams of prednisone that he would take in a day. And this is something that can literally kill a person. And being able to access that so easily is truly a danger. So we're run into other things, but this is an important message.
So, like we're saying this week, college now is a tertiary level institution that handles all these health issues, where we're stepping a little out of our zone to make sure that we're doing this outreach to check the public, to make sure that we can offer a level of prevention where rheumatic heart disease is concerned. The awareness of it.
The age group that we had that I chosen basically reflects the group that that we see in advanced years. The decisions you make in your teenage years and your young adult life has an impact into how you are in your more mature years. And this is part of what we want to do. I mean, in terms of awareness and preventative aspect of medicine, we want to encourage our Belizean population to think preventative. So just like when you have your you buy a vehicle and you say, oh, I spent a lot of money on this vehicle, so every 6 months I'm going to check it, make sure this is happening and that is happening.
Change the oil and make sure you check the tire pressure.
Right. But your body is a secret, it's a temple. Whatever you put in, if it's poisonous stuff, it will have a consequence. But you should also have an approach to life where you eat well, make good choices regarding how you live in terms of rest and other things that you do. But you should also have cycling in regular, checking in with your medical or your family doctor or your clinics. Utilize the many clinics that we have around the country to make sure that you're on the right track. This is important.
Guys, it's 24 minutes before 9 o'clock. It's a very interesting chat. But I think that we need to go more in detail as to the symptoms, etc. What to look for, so people can become aware of their conditions and react to that awareness. So let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about the symptoms and also what to do after you find out that you may have the symptoms. So let's take that break.
The sunny days are here, and whether it's for a picnic or in your kitchen, you need the meat. Gillette's Meat Shop proudly offers a variety of juicy cuts, such as processed meats, ham, bacon, salami, longanisa, and sugar-cured ham, just to mention a few. Enjoy our meats in beef, pork, and mutton. So for that healthy cut your family enjoys, visit us at number 18 San Antonio Road in Orange Walk, from Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. and 1:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. Saturdays, 7 a.m. to 12:30 and 3 to 5 p.m. Sundays, 8 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Place your orders at 322-3486 or 322-2175 or even 610-4061. Send us an email at DerekGillett31@gmail.com. Gillett's Meat Shop. Fresh and processed meats.
They see when you're defense, always a star. Yes, you live in color to the limit. Large and in charge. Yes, that's why you rock with Busta. Refreshing, full flavors. Always a star, never the audience. You run things never run yours. Yes, you are the life of it, not just a part of it. Your life is never black and white. Live in full color. Busta.
Hello friends, the only place you'll get value for your money is at Rapidito Loans. At Rapidito Loans, you can shop for jewelry, buy, carat, stoner style. A genuine jewelry from us makes the perfect gift for that special someone or a treat for you. Come and check our widest assortment of quality and affordable gold jewelry. And for all those last-minute urgent needs and unexpected bills, you don't have to worry no more. Rapidito Loans is the only quick and reliable solution for all those emergency needs. We provide more and better loans for your gold jewelry. So remember friends, great discount on all gold jewelry. So come in and visit us at Orange Walk Town, number 4 Belize Horizontal Road. Rapidito Loans, your number 1 money lending and jewelry center.
The Philip Bolton Highway between Belize City and the Philip Bolton International Airport is getting a major facelift to the tune of $31.5 million. Section A of the highway upgrading project between Hollover Bridge and PGIA is nearing completion at an investment of $13.6 million. Works include construction of retaining walls to prevent erosion, widening of the road cross-section to include paved road shoulders, pavement restoration and resurfacing. The project also includes the installation of LED road lighting and safety features such as signs, reflectors, road marking, and improved visibility through the clearing of the road reserve. The government of Belize, moving Belize forward.
This is all got Wi-Fi or what? Buy the word for Wi-Fi, we go for party! You only live once. You got to live in the moment and make the most of each time. Because once it's gone forever. That's why I love my digital 4G LTE mobile data. Hey, do you know the Wi-Fi password? I am always connected. I can share my memories with everyone. They always know what's happening. You know who hosts this? You got the Wi-Fi? Not have to be like Bali here and they try deep Wi-Fi. With digital 4G LTE, you can share whatever you want, whenever you want. You never have to wait for Wi-Fi.
The bigger, better network. Digital.
What? Finally I get Wi-Fi.
Greetings, esteemed members, owners of La Immaculata Credit Union Limited. It gives us great pleasure to announce that LICU will be holding its consolidated 67th and 68th annual general meeting on Saturday, July 22nd, 2017 at the Muffles High School Auditorium located on San Andres Street in Orange Walk Town. We cordially invite all members owners of LICU to join us as we share our financials, developments, and endeavors, including the declaration of dividends for both the fiscal years 2015-2016 and 2016-2017. As always, your presence and active participation at this very important first ever consolidated session is of essence. For your valuable input and awareness are necessary as we continue moving forward to safeguard your interests and hard-earned investments for the sustainable growth of our credit union. We strongly encourage you to be on time to have the opportunity to win exciting punctuality and attendance prizes. Kindly bring along your passbooks. Snacks and refreshments will be served at the end of the business sessions. Once again, copies of the minutes of our 66th AGM are being made available at both our Orange Walk and Belmopan offices in order to allow you the time to review before the meeting. We thank you for your kind patience in allowing us the time to finalize our processes for this highly anticipated meeting. Looking forward to seeing you there. Laimacolada Credit Union Limited, your road to financial prosperity.
Need an escape from your daily schedule? Why not become a tourist in your own country? Discover Western Belize. Transport back in time and be awed by the reminiscences of the Mayan civilization. Be adventurous or spend a day with family and friends and enjoy the serenity of the Macau River. Sample a Kaya staple or pick up some fresh produce to make your own delicacy. Come visit us in Western Belize. Belize, where you can discover how to be a Belizean traveler.
And welcome back to the Sugar City Morning Show. It's exactly 44 minutes after 8 o'clock. When we left, we were talking about rheumatic fever and what it may eventually lead up to, which is the rheumatic heart disease. But then we were talking about how you get rheumatic heart and rheumatic fever. And we were talking about the streptococcal infection, which is strep throat, okay? In other words, that itchy throat feeling where you cough and cough and cough. But we spoke then about sometimes we auto-medicate ourselves, or sometimes we don't take the medication for as long as we should take the medication. And then we end up with a condition called rheumatic fever. How do we recognize when we have rheumatic fever?
Well, first off, like we said, the sore throat is the first event, most commonly. Secondly, well, we know, just to say what are risk factors which are evident in Belize, we have the condition of low socioeconomic environment, overcrowding, and they said poverty basically are important contributors to this. You may have, again, a family history, which will raise your level of risk. And the primary event of a sore throat, not necessarily with coughing only, it's sore in the sense that you have pain when you swallow, and swallowing your saliva can be painful. And when the doctor does look inside, you can see the tonsils to be inflamed, and sometimes there's even pustules and all of that there. So this is direct evidence that you have infection. But when they do blood tests, they may see certain features that confirm a bacterial infection. So there are certain blood tests that can be done, which is why we talk about going to see the doctor, your pediatrician, because again, this is the age group that is usually maybe between 6 and 16 that you may have the predilection or the tendency to have this type of infection, so risk. But rheumatic fever itself has a way in which the diagnosis is made by a doctor using what they call major and minor criteria, or Jones criteria. And so throat, as we said, is one, but they may detect by listening to the heart. The patient may have a new murmur in the heart that they did not have before, because then, as we say, one of the main areas that can be affected even with acute rheumatic heart disease is the heart itself. So you can have an inflamed muscle heart, a muscle of the heart, myocarditis, inflamed covering of the heart, pericarditis, That can be such that when you lean forward, the pain eases up, but when you're lying flat, there's a lot of pain in the middle of the chest. And then you can have the valvulitis, which is the valves somehow starting to leak acutely. By treating appropriately at that time, these symptoms and signs may go away completely. Other symptoms may include painful joints in the wrists and the elbow, as well as they may even see what we call subcutaneous nodules. And then there is a skin.
Little bumps under the skin.
Yes, but they may be at the elbow, and I think maybe, but most likely in the elbow. Most commonly in the elbow, but that's not a common feature. And then there is a rare event that can happen called Sydenham's chorea, which is an involuntary movement that they manifest with their hands and parts of the body. It's not a seizure. Sydenham's chorea.
Sydenham's chorea.
Some people, it's been also described as Saint Vitus dance.
Okay.
Saint Vitus dance, right? But then again, these are all different clinical features that suggest that this event was and is acute rheumatic fever, which should be treated, as we said, aggressively in terms of antibiotic. And this is the primary treatment, appropriate antibiotic treatment. However, you may have the history of all of these things, and that person who has that strong history should, for almost, I would say, most of their adult life, because there are actual guidelines for that, should be placed on monthly Panadol injections, actually. Monthly Panadol injections or penicillin type injections is the standard treatment to prevent the progression from the acute rheumatic fever to the rheumatic heart disease. That's a very, very important step. So the diagnosis is important to make so that you put in place and the education is placed so that they get the monthly treatment. So
the effort that you're going to be having Thursday is exactly to do that.
It is to prevent the
rheumatic heart disease.
Established rheumatic heart disease. Rheumatic heart disease may show very early in teenage years, and it affects mainly the mitral valve, one of the valves, the main valve of the heart, for the left chamber of the heart. This valve usually has a leak, and in having a leak, it causes you to have racing of the heart, tiring easily, or there's a shortness of breath on exertion. So you can see from a child or teenage years, you may see someone just, instead of playing football every day and running basketball, and so they slow down and then they choose not to go out again and things like that. But it may happen so slowly that you don't realize that lifestyle changes have been happening. Now, you could be fine for a very long time. The heart could tolerate some of these changes for a long time, so that in your 30s is when you start to show something. And what you may show as your first sign is an irregular, fast heartbeat. And that's might be the first episode of what we call atrial fibrillation, where there is one upper chambers of the heart that's not contracting in a good way or effective way. It is actually contracting that looks like a bag of worms, and it decreases then how much the blood is ejected from the heart normally. Atrial fibrillation, as the first presentation, can be what happens for young people, and then, as I say, the same thing will happen. They get tired easily, they have pain in the chest, shortness of breath.
But you mentioned something very important. You mentioned that the years when you would begin to develop, when you're most vulnerable per se, is between the ages of 6 and 16 or so, when you have the strep throats and so forth. So it can be up to perhaps when you're in the 30s that you begin to manifest some of the
30s
symptoms.
or even in 50s.
Even in 50s,
Yes.
so you may have it latent in your system all the while, and you may be showing a high white blood cell count, but you don't know where the infection is.
Well, it doesn't behave in during that period. It's not where infection is a feature. The infection was the first event. What you're seeing now are just changes of the heart, and the changes are, what we said, valvular changes that leads to changes in the rhythm of the heart. So the racing
Only
of
because
the heart.
because infection is still there.
Not because the infection is still there. It's because of the body's response to infection.
Okay.
Which is what we call an autoimmune response.
Autoimmune response, right?
Is such that it continues. But the only way, as we say, the main way to limit the possibility of progression is to use the monthly injection of the penicillin.
Okay. Mr. Tillett, can you tell us more about the logistics of how and where and when this will be happening at Northern Regional, and also I gather at the Corozal
Polyclinic, yes. This is a collaboration between Carl Huchner Memorial Hospital Authority, the Heinemann Foundation, and Edwards Life Sciences.
Edward Life Sciences.
Yeah. It's the third annual one that we've done. The first one was in Belize City. The second one was in Cayo and Stan Creek. And this third one is going to be in Orange Walk here at the Northern Regional Hospital from 9 till 3:30 tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Thursday. Okay.
And on Friday at the Corozal Polyclinic from 9 till 3:30. We're looking for persons between the ages of 16 years to 30. However, if you have a relative that you suspect is having some issue with their heart and you want to get that checked out, we are not turning back anybody. Feel free to come to the clinic. And we remind the public that this is a free cardiac clinic, so don't be afraid to come out. It's totally free. You come, you sit, you make your appointment, and we will check you out to see how we can help. Understand? So this is an annual thing spearheaded by Carl Huchner along with Heinemann Research Foundation and Edwards Life Sciences.
So if you it is determined by the doctor, attending doctor, that you have a heart condition, not necessarily one that is related, will you be referred then to one of the specialists at the hospital? What would be the process following that?
So what we do have is, in the end, we have a lot of data from the biographical aspect, meaning we would have our own charting, but at the end the patient will also get a card that gives them the instructions as to follow up, etc. What will happen then is that tomorrow we have the Dr. Eduardo Pedroso, who is a cardiologist, pediatric and adult cardiologist at Carl Huchner. He will be assisting myself as well as Dr. Jeff Rose from North Carolina, from the Carolinas Health System. And as he was mentioning, the Heinemann Medical Research organization is the executive director. Teresa Johnson is also here. And we will have also from the School of Nursing of the Carolinas Health System, nursing students, assistants, etc. We also will have the opportunity to do EKGs and bedside echocardiograms with a portable bedside echo machine. And as what Mr. Tillett was saying, that depending on what your risks are, we will, scale you up in terms of the different tests and refer to the appropriate facility. Most likely would be referring them to Carl Huchner for us to follow up in more detail. At Carl Huchner then, for our cardiology department or the cardiology services, there's a range of services that we currently offer. The usual ones, again, we have two cardiologists there, Dr. Samuels, Dr. Pedroso. I am a heart surgeon, not a cardiologist, just to be clear. Because
what's the difference in either one?
Well, the difference is that the cardiologists are medical doctors, and cardiac surgery is a doctor who operates on the heart and fixes conditions of the heart. but we work together in the sense that as a team, so that patients that they see may need surgery, etc., are referred to my service, and vice versa. The services then, as we want to say, is general cardiology that we have. We also do interventional cardiology intermittently, but it's what we're building up to for it to be a constant program. Interventional cardiology references, or what I'm saying then, is where we do angiography and stenting, and other tests that are done apart from EKG is echocardiography, which is important. Echocardiography is what we call an ultrasound of the heart, which is a way in which you see the function of the heart in real time and define what are the problems related.
A lot of people are suffering from hypertension, either because of the diet, or because of the stress situation, or because of an X amount of reasons. And some of them are not taking care of themselves.
Well, I don't know how else to get the message out there, because I do know that valiant efforts have been made by the Ministry of Health for many decades, where it comes to primary care. Every single person in health should be able to be fully conversant with all issues related to high blood pressure and diabetes, from the nurse to the porter in the hospital, I would think, because essentially diabetes and hypertension is killing our population, slaughtering our population. We are not...
And excuse me there.
Yes, sir.
But if the disease doesn't kill you, it's the lack of treatment that kills you, because sometimes, most of the time, it's the expensive nature of the treatment of diabetes that most people cannot afford.
Correct.
If you have, I know of a case just yesterday, and I was approached by a gentleman who told me, Mr. Martinez, I don't have to go pay $200 every time for, and he's not diabetic, he just has severe renal failure. I think that's what it is.
Yes.
Renal?
Renal failure.
Yes. And it turns out that his kidneys are almost gone, and he needs treatment, dialysis, 3 times a week.
Yes,
but he can't afford it. That's $600 out of his pocket. He can barely eat. So what happens? He has to be begging, or he shouldn't have to be begging. Puts him in a dire situation. Does CalHouston offer a program for people like this?
Well, you touch on a very sensitive issue. Even Mr. Tillett and I were discussing it coming up. We host a dialysis program that is funded by the Ministry of Health. And long and short is that dialysis does occur at CalHouston for 15 patients. And it is an excellent program for the patients that it provides the service for. But the demand for it is ginormous. That's the only way to describe it. And we have to aggressively find solutions to expand the program that we have existing. But we cannot take everyone for the simple reason of, as you know, there's utility of one machine X amount of times, the number of nurses, the number of supplies. It's all connected. And if it was possible, we would love to be able to do for everyone. This is again something that we have to work out with the Ministry of Health to change that dynamic. Yes, there is in the private sector options, but then that alone is just not enough. There is a greater demand. But the two sides of it is dialysis alone is not the solution. What you have to somehow, because as we build more centers, we have to stop all these hypertensive and diabetics from becoming so unwell that they reach this point. There are many opportunities to intervene during someone's history who has diabetes and hypertension. There are many opportunities to prolong eventually needing dialysis. And so that is where a lot of effort is being placed through efforts of Ministry of Health right now. And there is a collaboration with the Taiwanese that is helping to understand what our problems really are. Because we may think alone hypertension, diabetes, but I would say to you that especially in areas like the agricultural zones, we might be exposed, our population, to the effects of the chemicals that we use. If we're not wearing the right protective gear, we're not storing it properly, etc. There are exposures that might be happening now that we can't really explain. I mean, that can explain then why we're in the position that we're in. So there is a lot more to be done. We talked about the Voltaren or the diclofenac earlier abuse, and again, that's possibly part of the journey. And so the education of the public has to be, you know what, just don't go and just take things over the counter. The pharmacists should not be dispensing things just like that. I know they may be trying to help you, and you're trying to get through things a bit quickly. But we have to rethink how.
Is it really just because they're trying to help, or is it just because they're grabbing the opportunity to make a buck?
Well, I'm going to that part of it.
Prevention.
I think prevention, but it may be an event of convenience, because at the same time you may say, well, I don't want to go and line up and wait to be seen by the doctor. I'm going to the clinic generally, or I can't afford. I'm going to decide. I pay $50 to see a doctor, or pay $50 to get the prescription without a prescription. But these are our challenges today. But education, healthy lifestyle choices, all of these things, I guess, are the many battlefronts that have to be much more organized and strengthened. Lots of groups are there. The Kidney Association of Belize, as an example, are strong advocates for, and the Diabetes Association, they're trying their best to promote awareness in terms of the lifestyles that we have. You know, the soft drink that we drink for breakfast, and you know, the salt that we have in our diet, etc. The fact that we don't take advantage of all the bountiful fruits and vegetables around us. We're meat eaters, basically. You know, and these things have to change. We have to get out of sitting down in the evening after having a big meal, instead of taking walks and exercising. You know, but truly these are things that of the past. When we look at our grandparents and saw how they lived for so long and how well they look, you know that their diet was not the same as ours is.
Yeah, prevention is better than cure. We have the Ministry of Health has embarked with the Ministry of Education to try and change the diet of foods that is available for children at schools. We have a high occurrence of what we call NCDs, non-communicable diseases, that are directly related to our diets. So sometimes you go outside of a school compound and you see kids have picoree and all these foods that are not necessarily good for them. So education is a key factor. And in today's world, technology can be harmful. Let me explain. We have the patient who will have some symptoms and they'll Google it.
Dr. Google.
And Google says, okay, this is what you have and this is what you can take. So what the patient does, the patient says, okay, I just need some Voltaren for this amount of time. And their symptoms might be at a point where it needs to be properly analyzed and assessed. So if you're playing Google Doc, and as a doctor, there's a chance that you might be hurting yourself. So the decisions that the decisions that we make with our health personally and with our children, everything is health. So the way how you parent, if your child says, oh, I don't want to drink water, I want to drink juice, there's a chance that you're putting a strain on your child's system right away. That will end up down the road 20 years later to that person being on dialysis. So the choices we make now and the way that we raise our children now has an impact on the future. But all these soft drinks and so on and so forth, and I'm not knocking any other companies, try to make sure that your child is drinking water.
But you don't have to go far. Like they say, el mismo chino no come la comida que cocina. y que nos vende a nosotros. Tómalo. Take that as you know, as it is. But China don't eat the food that he sells to us. They eat something completely different. Because he's well aware of the fact that it may not be healthy. You know what I mean? But you said a mouthful with that, Thailand. I mean, the diet part is so essential. But as the things are, it's $3 tacos and 1 Coke, rather than $2 tacos and give me a grapefruit juice or an orange juice or something like that. And sometimes it's $5 tacos and 2 Cokes, which makes it even worse.
There's a theory that sugar that is produced is 8 times more addictive than cocaine. So it's really, you hear people always saying, oh, I need a Coke, I need a Coke. And it's an addiction. So it's a conscious lifestyle choice and change that we need to make if we want to be healthy and not end up at these end stage interventions. Yeah.
Yes. So everything is happening on Thursday here at the Northern Regional.
Yes, Thursday here at Northern Regional from 9 till 3:30. Please bring out your loved ones or encourage anybody that you know might be having a heart issue. If you're 16 to 30 and you'd like to just come and check, it is free. And on Friday, it's in Corozal at the Corozal Polyclinic from 9 till 3:30. Again, it is free to the public. Please come out and get checked.
Okay. And who are those people that you're targeting? Especially 16 to 31, but anybody else may suspect that he has some sort of heart problems.
And sometimes it's good to check. Let's not wait until you feel like there is a problem. It's good to come and check. Nothing is wrong with that. We live in a society
completely free.
Completely free.
What time does it begin?
From 9 till 3:30 on both days.
Okay, compañeros, esto es una invitación de parte de los personal aquí de Carl Kirchner. Hay un ofrecimiento de un chequeo absolutamente gratis y donde van a estar checando si es que eres propenso a tener una enfermedad que se llama rheumatic heart disease. Esto obviamente no ocurre inmediatamente, tiene su precursor, hay una situación que se llama rheumatic fever y antes de eso obviamente hay el problema con la garganta, el problema que quizás no lo atendiste bien, bueno, un sinfín de situaciones ahí. Lo que sucede es de que muchas veces el cuerpo reacciona y empieza a causarle daño a tu corazón. ¿Lo dije bien? Exactamente. Entonces, es un síndrome que se llama autoimmune syndrome, ¿no? Entonces, ¿qué sucede? Es de que puede ser que estés infectado, puede ser que esté latente esto en tu sistema y no lo sepas, no lo sabes enteramente. Así que esta es una oportunidad que se te está ofreciendo para ir a checarte. Recuerda de que en los años 16 a 31 es cuando estás más propenso a tener esas enfermedades de la garganta. ¿Sí es? ¿Ok? Entonces, te puede estar latente en tu sistema o durmiente en tu sistema por muchos años y no hasta los 40 o quizás los 50 tan de repente empieza a manifestarse. Así que, si tienes esto, o quizás tengas una situación que te duele el corazón, lo que tú piensas que te duele el corazón, o que ya sepas que tienes una condición, pues habrá gente ahí que te sabe diagnosticar, que te podría referir a otro doctor. Así que toma ventaja de esta oportunidad, ¿ok? Esto sucederá el jueves aquí en Orange Walk y el viernes Friday at the Corozal, en el Corozal Polyclinic. Así que tomen oportunidad de esto, compañeros. Tomen ventaja de esto porque es absolutamente gratis y habrá gente bien preparada para poder diagnosticarles.
And as we have on the flyer, early detection leads to early and effective treatment, right?
Okay. Pues cuando ya estás bastante enfermo, pues es difícil muchas veces curarte. Posible. Vamos a tener esta llamada. Sugar City Morning Show.
Good morning, Manuel. Good morning, Philip.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes,
and now I'm going to have an appointment for the 3rd of September. Well, I said I call you up this side if we could come in and then just do check up one time.
Okay. Yes.
He said yes.
Huh?
He said yes. Yes,
You
that's
can-
perfect.
Okay then, thanks.
All right.
Okay, have a nice day.
You too now. Okay. Well, ¿qué más para decir, verdad? Ajá. It's 30 minutes after 9 o'clock. So with that, I'm going to say thank you very much.
Okay, well, we just say good morning, Belize again. Good morning, Carl Huchner. Keep on doing the great things that you do. And thanks, Mr. Tillett. Thank you, sir, Mr. Martinez, for the opportunity for us to get this message out. And we are grateful again to, as we said, to the Heinemann Group, the Carolinas Health System, the Carl Huchner for all the support over the years. And in fact, Edward Life Sciences as a major sponsor for this event. They produce cardiovascular devices and valves. And they have a program called Every Heartbeat Matters, and this is in a way an extension of that activity that they do in the States for screening of kids. And of course, Boeing and Boeing for the continuous support. They will be providing water for us and a tent as they've done for all the other years, and they've helped us in many other ways in the past, and we're very grateful for their continued support for the effort.
Fantastic. Any other sponsor you'd like to acknowledge?
No, I'd just like to say good morning to the 600 strong at the Carl Huchner Memorial Hospital. We are the flagship of the health system, and this is us taking a step out of our normal rule and making outreach to the public to continue taking care of the Belizean public's health. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tillett, and thank you very much, Dr. Adrian Coy. I'd like to invite you for some time in the future to be here. You know, if there's any situation where, and I'd like to keep the invitation open, okay? At any one time that you'd like to come in and discuss something, a disease that is all of a sudden manifesting itself in the community, you know, please feel free to call us, 302-2170. We're listed. And I can give you my telephone number as well, because I particularly like these interviews because we're educating, we're informing, and I think that this makes our presence here even more meaningful, our job even more meaningful, when we can serve as that intermediary person between the doctors and the people. So thank you very much. Señores y señoras, ya son las 9:15, ya estamos bastante atrasados hasta entre el otro programa, pero no importa. Esto es información muy importante, y con esto les quiero decir de que este programa se repite hoy por la noche a las 9 de la noche, y así que si no lo captaron hoy por la mañana, avisen a sus parientes, a sus amigos, de que si quieren saber más acerca de esto, vean el programa hoy por la noche, informarse bien, y también estaremos de vuelta con ustedes mañana, como siempre, a la misma hora. Así que se cuidan, agradeciendo el trabajo de Morris, Rahim y Chequi, que están detrás del escenario. Yo soy Emmanuel, su atente servidor. Así que nos vemos, tengan un feliz día. Hasta luego.